Hello, everybody.
No,
Everybody.
no.
What's this one? There. Let's move this guy here.
Yes, we did. This is go to a totally secret thing about characters or what funny. Wash. He fell in the shit that his to put all the presents and he saved
You guys can hear my little one in the background
more.
playing around. I apologize for the mix-up. Somehow YouTube has changed its settings and how they do things, and I scheduled the Hangouts through their new what is it, live streaming studio, whatever they're calling it, and then there was no way for me to start the damn thing. So I had to Google how to do this in the classic way, which is the old way, and I just went and click, and I created a new one. So apologies for the misunderstanding, or just leading you to a different URL. I gotta go and change all the URLs in the previous media postings. Yay.
That was so small.
I'm gonna wait a little bit for others to catch up. Let's say another 4 minutes, and we'll start at 10 minutes after the hour. I'm hoping everybody has been having a good time.
Peppa Pig. It's Peppa Pig. He's so yes. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Look, the fuck is coming to.
Mama is coming. I think what I'm gonna do is from now on, I'm gonna be creating Phalcon links for these URLs in case they change, just like today, so that people can can actually click one URL and then go where they're supposed to go. So apologies for this. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hey guys. Hey Emilio. Hey Balas. Again, sorry guys for this mix-up. In case you missed it, I had technical difficulties with YouTube. Apparently, they've changed the way they do things and how you go live. They're trying to promote this brand new system of creating live events and streaming and all that stuff. The problem is it's completely different than what you've been used to. You've been used to, okay, create this live event, schedule it, and then when the time comes, it either starts on its own or you click a button and you go live right there. I used to spin up this Hangouts on Air, the Google Plus thing, um, and then you would just go live. Well, the new one, it doesn't have all these features, or if it does, I have no idea how to get to them. So I scheduled it, and nothing happened. There's no button to say start. It has some sort of a screen where it says, "Oh, you're not streaming through your encoder." What is my encoder? I have a camera. What else do I need to do? So I think, bless their hearts, in YouTube, they're trying to make things more functional for a lot of people, but they make it more difficult for others. So it will be a little bit until I get used to it and figure it out. So, all right, let's get this party going. And if you see, I got my Phalcon T-shirt, my April Bugfest, and thank you to all of those uh, that worked with us and took part in the Bugfest. All right, let's go to our little slide. Ta-da! Okay, so let's have the community hangout slides. And I'm hoping that it is presenting. There you go. All right. It took a while for YouTube to pick up. So welcome to everybody to the community hangout for May 2019. This is our 5th hangout. I'm really happy to be here with everybody. And we're going to be talking about what we did since our last hangout. For those that engage with us a little bit more or on our Discord server and so on and so forth, they know pretty much what's going on, but I'm going to give a recap for everybody that has missed certain things and what we've been doing. So let's see. Next slide. All right, so this is our agenda for today, our introduction. Welcome to all attendees, which I've already said hello to everybody. And of course, in the YouTube chat, hello to everybody that's there. A huge thank you, as always, to the whole community and our contributors. We're going to talk about the updates since our last hangout and what happened to our April Bugfest. You saw the T-shirt. Talk a little bit about DevTools. Talk about our Alpha 5, the last alpha version for the V4 series. The next one will be a beta. I'm going to talk about PSR 16. For those that don't know, it's the caching component. And we also have factories and then Q&A. All right, so this for those that have attended our previous hangouts, this is a regular slide that I copy and paste all the time. Huge thank you to our awesome community, to everybody that contributes for in whatever capacity, big or small. Also, these are the links of our social media where you can actually find us and get information from us for whatever we do. The top 2 really are maybe the top 3, I would say, are where we engage people the most, especially in Discord, where you can talk about whatever it's bothering you, forum to find certain things, and so on and so forth, and or ask questions as you would like. Also, there's Stack Overflow that you can ask questions there. And the other ones are kind of like quick interaction and getting news from. So we have our update. So here's the deal. I have certain names at the top. By no means that this list is exhaustive, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but I would like to recognize Sid Roberts, Ekamste, Silby, and Emilio Deg. These are their GitHub names for their contributions and their enhancements and support. Without these guys, we wouldn't have pushed the framework as much as we have. It would have been still, weeks and weeks behind. So what did we do? We did a lot of enhancements, and that was pretty much driven a lot by Sid Roberts. There was a lot of cleanup, micro optimizations, just like in the previous sprint, if you like. There was a lot of refactoring and cleanup of the tests, and we did fix a few bugs, and we did quite a few optimizations. Our current status on GitHub, and this was done yesterday, so the numbers might be off a little bit. We have 10 open PRs. We have 95 open issues. And bear in mind, the 95 open issues might not necessarily mean that these are issues that we have to fix in this particular release. For instance, I just added this morning a new issue with regards to the data mapper pattern that we would like to see in future versions. That is an issue, but it's not something that we will do now. So the 95 might not be 100% representative of bugs or anything like that. For the bulk of the issues that are in the project are new feature requests. The ones that are bugs that have been identified as bugs are either on this project or 4.1. So for the 4.0 project, we have 4 to-do cards. We have 11 in progress and 439 done. And huge props to everybody. The code coverage since V3 has increased by 7%. And yes, I agree. Code coverage might not be something that people would look into, because you have a lot of problems with code coverage. Code coverage could be a blessing in disguise, as they say in the US. You could start writing tests in order to get 100% code coverage, and actually missing the big picture that this particular feature needed more tests and more assertions to test different paths that your code should take. So you could fall into that, but for me, code coverage means that your code has executed at least once, and I always try to have as close to 100% as possible, if not 100%. Yeah, you could just write a test for the sake of catching that particular little branch that your code would take, which might be very obscure, but it is something that personally I like seeing, and that's why I'm celebrating that by putting this in the card, that we have increased our code coverage, covering a lot more code. This increase came mostly with the addition of new things that came into the framework since version 3, because we started a lot more with test-driven development. So whatever new code we output there, we make sure that it has either 100% or as close to 100% as possible, at least for that feature. We've released Alpha 5, and we have factories now. And I'm going to get into depth in all of those in just 1 minute. As far as Zephyr is concerned, if you guys recall, Sergey was going to go on holidays, so half of the month was he was not there. In the meantime, Dream and a couple of other people that I don't remember their names, sorry, have been working on Zephyr. There have been numerous optimizations, especially one PR is work in progress. It's called local memory management, and these guys are doing some crazy magic over there on how to do C stuff, which is beyond my understanding. But the idea is that once they get that PR merged and it becomes part of Zephyr, then we're getting closer to creating a synchronous code within Phalcon. So that's why I have the sub bullet there, the code routines with yield. The goal is to be able to start using a synchronous processing within Phalcon in order to be able to leverage the speed that the processor can give you, and not only work on a single thread. And that can actually expand into numerous areas, whether you want database connectivity, multiple writes, multiple reads, whether you want asynchronous processing of requests, let's say for an API, and so on and so forth. There's tons of applications that can be used on that. So this is the work in progress that these guys are doing. And I'm very happy to see some really, really good traction over there. Again, this slide is going to be appearing all the time. I want to thank everybody that has been helping with translating the documentation. And of course, I'm reminding everybody that we're using Crowding as the translation factory or translation website. So pretty much the English language is in the GitHub repository, and everything else happens in Crowding. So you go to Crowding, you select the language that you know and can translate, and then you go slowly through their interface and translate everything that you need to translate. A proofreader then approves your changes, and then those changes are being automatically sent to our repository as a pull request, and then we update our website, our documentation. Our documentation right now, the V4 documentation, is not complete. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to address. For those that are interested in our issues, GitHub issues, if you actually not the issues, if you go to GitHub and click on pull requests, and sorry about the too many bings on my phone, I should have muted it. But what I was saying, if you go to GitHub and click on pull requests and click on where it says closed for the closed pull requests, you will see a lot of them with a yellow label called docs needed. This was done intentionally for those pull requests that we did not have time or couldn't do it at the time or were lazy, whatever you want to call it. We just put that little label over there, and once we release beta, we're gonna start concentrating on every single card, every single pull request that has that label on, to make sure that the documentation is adjusted and adapted according to what is going on, and at the same time update the upgrade document in order to show what needs to be done if you're upgrading from 3 to 4. That document has to be extremely thorough so that people do not have this little gotcha moments. Oh, why doesn't work from 3 to 4? Okay. And a few pieces of information here. Also, Algolia searches the site for new content every night. There will be a small update for those that have used the Algolia search on the V4 documentation. That's where it's at only. It needs a little bit of tweaking because it usually brings the API results first rather than the document results. So I have to tweak that a little bit in order to give more proper results for what you need to do. Quick update on the dev tools. We have work in progress. Of course, life got in the way, and we got distracted with something that is called work. We have to do it. Huge props to Jackerson for leading the effort. He's been pulling that wagon for quite a few months now. The update is that there were 2 bugs fixed and 2 more left to make possible to close the 3.4.x. He has been working on creating some sort of a pipeline and an automated build for all of our packages here, especially in the Docker environment for Phalcon. So we've been using GitLab for this. There are a couple of links for you guys to have a look. There is a sandbox that has been created also. And as far as the Docker images for Phalcon, there is work that's already been started. The next steps are to separate the builds. work on some sort of a separation of the builds. We could make each repository for each separate part, for instance, all related to Ubuntu or related to CentOS and so on and so forth, and then separate the by PHP version, just like Circle CI does it on GitHub. Or you can make everything pull into a single repository inside a single configuration file, and that would offer a really nice dashboard where you can see each build, where it failed and where it did and where it didn't. So this is work to be done. I'm hoping that we will be able to show you maybe in the next Hangout something more concrete in terms of either screenshots or a small demo. But that is to do. And again, huge props to Anton, um, which is Jackerson, and welcome, Rude. Man, sorry, I made a mistake on the URL as well of the Hangout. So you're not late; you're fashionably early, or whatever they call it. Okay, so time to talk about our Alpha 5. Congratulations to everybody that made this possible. Again, last alpha of the V4 series, we started introducing alpha versions at the beginning of the year in order to get as quick feedback as possible from the community, whether this is with people that they were trying to upgrade things to V4 or people that had ideas of how our implementation should go. I've said this before, I said this in the past, that V4 is going to be some sort of a transition version towards V5. V5 is where we want to go, and V4 is how we're setting ourselves up on where we want to go. There's a lot of things in Phalcon that were created when we had Knowledge X, right? Back in the day, we only had PHP 5, and Phalcon was pretty much dominating if you think about it, because PHP 5 was built in Zen Engine 2, and it was not offering the speed and memory consumption that that people wanted, and as such, Phalcon was bridging that gap. Now that PHP 7 is nearly a huge rewrite, especially in the memory management and speed and so on and so forth. Phalcon started not catching up or not giving you as a huge benefit in terms of performance and speed as you had it in PHP 5. At the same time, for version 3, we had to support both PHP 5 versions and PHP 7. That made our code base much bigger, especially the generated code, in order to build functionality both for two versions of PHP, and as a result, the optimizations were not maxed out. Right. With version 4 of Phalcon, we're ditching PHP 5 completely. So there's a huge chunk of our code that has been removed from both Zephyr and from Phalcon itself, because it compiles only for PHP 7. And we're using 7.2 and above. And in version 5, we're going to remove 7.2 as well, because 7.2 is going to be end of year, kind of like nowish, or it has been already. So anyway, where I'm getting at is the framework evolved on how it was built initially, and then things were just being piled on top of it, right? And we never had a good way of looking at the framework and saying, all right, we have, for argument's sake, the ORM. We built it back then when we had PHP 5 and well, now it's the design is no longer modern as it was. Plus, we piled all sorts of things on top of the framework, from feature requests and all that from the community, and as a result, because of those design decisions, and because we didn't want to redesign it and so on and so forth, it's as if you're putting band-aids all the time. Right? And every band-aid you put, you're kind of like slowing down the framework. You make it more difficult to maintain. And you guys know all of this in your code as well. So the idea is that we want to go to much more robust and much more modern framework in version 5. And to do that, we're going to have to go through version 4. So answer to Emilio, there is something. It's not 100%. And the question is there any migration guide from V3 to V4? The the guide is not complete. Okay. There is something. Hold on a sec. Upgrade. The link is docs.phalconphp.com/4.0/en/upgrade, and I'm gonna paste this in the chat. All right, this is the current upgrade guide that we have. As you will see, it's not complete. It does have some information at the top, and then it talks about a few components. If I remember correctly, the filter is in there, the logger, I think, um, uh, the ACL, things that have changed and how they have changed. Uh, remember talking a little bit earlier with regards to um, the all the PRs that have that label docs needed. That's what this one would also entail, going to the upgrade guide and making sure that people know 100% what has changed from version 3 to version 4 that breaks backwards compatibility in what they need to have a look at. Okay. So with after all this blabber, we have what we have for this Alpha 5. We have the PSR 16. PSR 16 is the simple cache component, and we completely rewrote our cache to abide by this. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cache a little bit later, maybe. I think I don't remember. I have the slides somewhere, but I don't see all the slides again. So now for the crypt interface, we removed DES, RC2, RC4, and so on and so forth. Algorithms that have been deemed as insecure. So even if your own system has those algorithms installed and it supports them, if you're trying to use them, you will get an exception back. We also added the auth data, the tag, the AAD, I think, and the tag length. These are three parameters that OpenSSL_encrypt takes, especially for GCM and CCM mode ciphers. So we did that. We have more methods on the helper array and helper string static functions. We added attributes, the HTML attributes on forms, and thank you, Emilio, for taking the lead on that. A little bit on the related to the cache, we added the storage adapter and storage serializer. Storage adapter is a unified way of storing data somewhere. And the adapters that we have are APC, ULIB, Memcache, Memory, and Redis. And if you look at the code, the storage adapter is pretty much the one that does the heavy lifting and the work for the cache. And it also gets introduced in other areas of the application so that we can have one way of storing data. We also have the storage serializer. It's serialize and serialize. These are classes that that implement the serializable interface. And we have base64, IG binary, JSON, MSG, PAC, NaN, and PHP. For MSG, pack, JSON, and IG binary, note that you do need to have the relevant extensions loaded, otherwise they will not work. So also for the validation URL, now it accepts the filter flag path required and schema required, or something like a URL required. There's two flags that you can actually push in there. This was a PR, another PR, a new feature request that from one of the members in our community. Forgive me, I forget the name. But yeah, this one definitely enhanced the framework, and we also introduced a toString for the view. If you guys recall, in the past we could only do a toString in so to speak in a view simple. So if in your application, let's say you wanted to create an email using a template, using a vol template, what you would do is instead of instantiating the view, you would instantiate view simple, pass your parameters there, and then run the render, and that would give you the HTML back where you can inject to your mailer service. Now you're able to call toString in the view, and that would actually render the view into a string for yourself. It will not fire any events, but it will accept, as before, a controller, an action, and relevant parameters. So it's pretty much the same way that we've been doing it in our controllers, only that this time rendering the view does not fire any events, and it does return all the contents to your string versus sending the output on the screen. All right. Okay, we fixed a lot of stuff. It was a really long list. For those that were interested in looking at the yes, I forgot the ACL file. Thanks, Rude. I should have given you the slides to check out, but you went hurricane chasing, so there you go. Yes, sorry, I forgot about that. I forgot that completely, actually. Hold on a sec. I need to find. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we also have the ACL firewall, and huge props to JuryGag or UriGag. Yeah, you're still alive. Good. Who was the original author of the firewall component. So the firewall component is a way to inject an ACL, an access control list, into your application as one component, as a firewall component. It works wonders in micro applications, even in your own application. It attaches itself to the micro ACL or the normal ACL, or it can also be attached to the annotations router. And by doing that, you're able to inject one layer as the firewall is, that would stop or allow execution of the code that comes behind it. Great work by UriGag. Thank you so much. The only thing that I can say is I actually took his code, which was for, I think it was for version 3. And then I just pretty much took it and ported it to version 4 and adjusted a little bit the test. So my help on that was just to bring it from point A to point B. Yeah, it was for 3.2. Thank you, Ruth. Sorry about that. I forgot the firewall component. So also what we did, we removed the whole old cache. So no more backend and front end and inject one to the other and all that stuff. We removed the view cache. There's no caching in the view from the framework. If you guys remember, there was this ability where you could create a backend adapter and then your front end adapter was output. instead of data, and then that would actually cache all your view somehow. It just did some magic. We got rid of that for two reasons. First and foremost, it's separation of concerns. You should not have the view layer caching on its own. You should be the one that controls the caching. It should come from your domain. Where the magic happens. It should come from your controller. Hey, do I have a cache for this view? Yeah. Okay, send that out. Or I don't now calculate everything and then save it into the cache and then send it out. And then the view just shows things. All right, so we got rid of that. But the second most important reason is that the way the new cache is implemented is completely incompatible with the way the output cache was written, implemented, or could have been implemented. I spent a good amount of time trying to get it to work, but it was a losing battle because I would have to rewrite the whole thing or make adjustments to the whole class, the whole cache class and relevant adapters in order to offer something that shouldn't really have been there. So, bye. Um, so number three, metadata session. It's completely incompatible with what we addressed in the whole caching. So it was removed from image GD. From that class, all the incompatible PHP 5 code has been removed, and also from the model, we removed the namespace aliases. So now all you have to do is just use blah 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 model : class, and that's it. You don't have to put any weird strings in there or anything like that. So all those aliases are gone, making the code a little bit easier to maintain. Because if you end up changing the class, the originating class, you won't have to change all the references anywhere else. Statistics that we have, this Alpha 5 had 605 commits and 6,264 files changed out of the whole framework. We fixed one high bug, 6 mediums, 3 lows, 4 NFRs, 4 PRs were 4 tests, just tests, and 37 were enhancements. Again, kudos to Sid Roberts for sitting down and going through pretty much the whole testing suite and the whole framework itself. I'll give you one small example. There is a way that Zephyr allows to take advantage of the GCC compiler and other C compilers in using predictive paths. So the way the language has evolved and the way the compiler has evolved is that it actually takes paths that it predicts where code should go. So to give you a small example, if fruit equals apple, do this, otherwise do that, right? Now, if the bulk of your work is that your fruit is going to be an apple, and that's where you go, and then the other branch is that if your fruit is not an apple, for argument's sake, throw an exception. So that's the non-normal path that the code would take. What we can do in Zephyr is put the word unlikely or likely. It depends on what you want to do. So in our code, we expect, let's say, that the fruit is going to be an apple, but we got to check if it is, and if it isn't, throw an exception. The change was if unlikely fruit is not apple, then throw exception. That word unlikely that was put in there in every if statement that we have, that would throw an exception and all that stuff, speeds up the code and tells the compiler to create some sort of a prediction path in it and execute faster. So small example on how things were done. Also throughout these 4 test enhancements and 37 other enhancements that happened within there, again in those 6,000 files changed, a lot of tests were looked at, reworked, refactored, and sometimes removed because some of the tests were not necessary. Small example I can give you: you have a function, you have a class that does a get and a set on something. Well, ideally, the way we generate the test stubs, you will have a get test and a set test. Well, it doesn't make sense to make a test for the get test without doing the same test for the set test. So there was this merging of these two. Get a set should work together, stuff like that. Get di, set di, all that. So kudos to Sid Roberts, who sat down. Amazing work. All right, a few more things here. I did touch on this a little bit. The cache, the top ones are folders. The inside bullets are pretty much the components under the folder. So the Phalcon cache now became Phalcon cache. Okay, I was trying to make this as intuitive as possible and not leaving things in the root folder. So have everything in one spot. Phalcon cache was the best I could get into that. I'm open to suggestions before we hit B1. So the main component is Phalcon cache, and that's the one that implements the PSR 16. And then that cache accepts an adapter, which will be where you would store all the data. Where is going to be your storage. And yes, we can create a root folder. If you run the PHP stubs generation from the tests, it creates a Nikos folder. So I'm more than happy to rename that to the root folder to give you kudos, my friend. So there you go. Okay. Then we have the storage. Now, bear in mind, all of the work is done in the storage side of things, and the cache is pretty much extending the storage, right? So we don't have duplicate code. Cache ACPU, cache adapter APCU, extends storage adapter APCU, which is the one that does all the work. Okay, in case you were wondering. So for the storage, we have again the adapters: APCU, libmem, cache memory, and Redis, and then we have serializers. The reason we did this is because we found a ton of code being copied and pasted from point A to point B to point C of the application. Simple examples were the cache, the modals cache, the metadata cache, session, and so on and so forth. So, if you had a Redis class, and you had to copy the same code 3 times. So we created the storage adapter, and we do have an interface, and we would be more than welcome to see different adaptations of how the storage interface can be used in other places. Whether this is going to be some other storage. Could it be SQLite, maybe? Could it be, I don't know, Mongo or whatever. So that's where we're gonna go with that. And then if that happens in the incubator, we can actually see the usage of that and then bring it into the main framework. But this is pretty much the idea of how this would work. All you have to do is just set up what your adapter is, and then just pass the options, and you're good to go. And then pass that adapter into the cache, and then the cache would actually work by storing data wherever you want to store it. Now, also we have the serializer, which I did mention this in the last Hangout. Serializer is, again, a class that implements the serializable interface, the serialize and serialize. So when data needs to be saved into the cache, sometimes the cache adapter might not accept the data. To give you an idea, actually, I don't know any ideas. It might not accept it because you're trying to store something that it's not supposed to be stored. Let's say you're trying to store an object into I don't know, into Redis, and Redis might not accept it, but Redis might accept a serialized object, right? So it might accept a string. So what you could do is you could define what your serializer would be for that adapter to use, and then let do its magic in the background. By default, all adapters um, default to the PHP serializer, but you could use whatever you want. Also, each class might have each adapter might have an implementation of their own serialization technique. So to give you an idea, libmemcached has, I believe, JSON and IG binary, and Redis also has JSON, IG binary, maybe MSGPack. I don't remember. If you specify that your serializer, let's say, is going to be IG binary, and you choose libmemcached, which also have an IG binary built in, the Phalcon will not be used. We will use the native one. So if the serializer does not exist natively, it's going to be used. If it's not, it's going to be left there. Right. So a couple of bits and pieces here to just give you a little bit of code to understand how things changed a little bit. It does seem a lot more code. It definitely does seem a lot more code than what we've been used to. But trust me, this is a much better way of doing things, and there is a good reason for the madness. With a later introduction of some sort of a container that would do auto loading for you. So this code will start shrinking much better once you use that DI. But that's way in the future. So what we're doing here is, let's say we have a configuration object loaded. We're grabbing the options as an array. We're creating a new serializer factory, and we're just throwing that serializer into a new adapter factory. Okay. So when we want to create the cache, all we have to do is we can just throw all that in the libmemcached adapter, the factory, and the options that we got from above, and that's pretty much it. But now we can also use the new cache factory to create whatever we want. So in one line, we can do create a new cache factory, and then inject on that a new adapter factory, and then inject on that a new serializer factory, and then just call I want now a new instance of libmemcached, and then throw the options in. All right. So that one would allow you to create a brand new cache. And of course, the last line, you can change it easily by saying factory new instance Redis, and then throw your options there. So that's pretty much the changes that have been made in this particular instance, and you will see this throughout the different parts of the application. Okay. All right. So let's go to factories. Unless somebody has any questions, or we can have the questions later. So ask away when you want it. So why would we use factories? There's a lot of discussions, and if you go to the place that I do not frequent, which is Reddit, I really don't like that place, but you will see hours and hours and hours of discussion about why you should or you should not use a factory, why you should or you should not use a particular pattern, right? So the reason for creating factories is, at least for us, is twofold. First of all, is to give an easy way for people to create an object without having to think about it. Let me go back just one slide for 1 minute and just look at the last line here, where I've instantiated my factory object, right? Yes, it is a new cache factory of a new adapter factory of a new serializer factory. I get that, right? That might be very alien to people, but focus on the last part. The last part is I want from this factory, I want a new instance of libmemcached with these options. All right. Let's say you change your code and now you're using Redis. All you have to do is make sure your options are correct and change the word libmemcached to Redis. There's no try and find in the code where we do blah blah equals new cache slash adapter slash Redis and change it to cache slash adapter slash libmemcached or the other way around. There's nothing like that. All you have to do is just one word and you're good to go. And the factory takes care of everything. Okay. Also, the second, coming back to the next slide, the second thing that we need to do is we need to ensure that our code is as clean as possible and can be reused and can be extended and maintained a lot in the future. So one of the good ways of ensuring that is not to create objects inside objects. So on the left side of the screen, you see something that pretty much all of us did in the past, are doing, and will do probably, right? So we have this user, and okay, well, we want to set up their permissions. So we have a new permission object, and then we create the new permission object inside the constructor. Well, the idea now is that you have a dependency within a dependency within an object, and it's difficult to decouple this. It's difficult to understand 6 months down the line. And I'm not talking about a brand new developer that comes over and looks at your code. We're talking about you. All right, 6 months down the line, I didn't remember what I was eating, let alone remember what I was doing here in this code. So a better alternative in order to increase maintainability and make this thing a little bit easier to be maintained is to actually pass a factory in it. So the code could be rewritten on the right side as I'm constructing, and all I'm doing is throwing a permissions factory in there. And with this factory, blah, 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 the function run becomes give me the permission factory, a new instance of it, and then render. And then what we could do in the permissions factory is we could make it so that it returns the same object, it returns a new object and all that stuff. And with an introduction of an auto loading DI, we could get this thing completely automated. And you know the possibilities are endless in terms of what we could do by keeping the code on the right versus what we're doing keeping the code on the left. It's always a bad thing to create objects within an object, right? Because you will get to the point where you will have a bug and you will not know where it's coming from. And it comes because most likely you forgot to do something in terms of a new object that you're creating in there. So it reduces the brand new things that are keep on popping inside your classes, right? Now, okay, so what I was saying a minute ago, remove the x equals new y inside the classes, offer an easy way to instantiate objects, offer config-based loading wherever possible with minor changes. So you could potentially throw in a configuration and object into your factory, and there you go. There's your object. You don't have to do anything like that. So the new factories that have been introduced is the annotations factory. The cache has an adapter factory and a cache factory. So the adapter factory creates an adapter for your cache, and the cache factory creates your cache object. The DB adapter gives you a PDO factory to create PDO connections that you can use with a DB. The image factory again offers the GD and image magic. Those two. Paginator offers the other three paginator objects that we could have. Translate offers the interpolator factory as well as a translate factory, and the validation offers any validators through the validation factory. Okay. So small example that I showed you earlier. This is the new way of creating, let's say, a model's metadata storage, where you're going to store your data. And in this example, we use the libmemcached. All you have to do is just get your data, create your serializer, throw it into the adapter factory, and then throw that adapter factory into your libmemcached object with the options. You could potentially use the factory here, the cache factory here, but that's a different discussion. And most factories implement mappers, so it creates the object and it finds it. So if later on you need to use the factory to create a second or a different instance of what the factory offers, you could do that, and it would actually give you the same object in the same run, or a new object if it needs to. This is the mapper pattern in order to get things faster for you, and everything is lazy loaded. Okay, and that was it. That's our Hangout. Here's my information. Here's our email, Discord channel. You can find anything you like. You can come over rather and ask any questions. You can engage in social media with us, or any questions that you might have here on the chat. All right, let's stop the screen share. All right, I don't see any questions popping up. I hope I didn't put everybody to sleep. Okay, well, I guess I gave it enough time. I would like to thank everybody for coming, and again, apologies for. Oh, by the way, just for Rude, this is my bug T-shirt, the April Bugfest, and I'll be waiting for your picture with your T-shirt. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you to all the contributors throughout the application, and I'm talking about all of our repositories. I'm hoping to engage with you in our social media as well as in our Discord server, and yeah, we're getting very, very close to our beta 1. I mean, if you look at it, we only have a few cards, left. So once those are done, the project will be completely done. Then we're gonna go full speed ahead to update the documentation, and lo and behold, before it's gonna be out, we need to also update the applications that we have. Sorry, allergies. Come on. Sorry. So yeah, update all the applications that we have, offer good ways of projecting sorry again, guys. Allergies are not fun. So yeah, what I was saying is update the documentation once the build is done and we're in beta. While updating the documentation, make sure that we don't have any bugs that we've uncovered for version 4, and update all of our existing applications, the Phalcon API, the Vocuro, Invo, Album, Orama, all of these applications. Make sure that they're all working on V4, and people have means of actually seeing what Phalcon can do and probably generate something with a few commands. Thank you for the bless you, Emilio. Yes, your T-shirt should be on its way. I've ordered it after we talked about it, and Emilio is working on tests on the upload files. Thank you, buddy. It's the make sure that you also have a look at the Phalcon HTTP message namespace. There are some upload tests there as well. I don't know how much they're going to help you, but have a look at those too. Because that's the PSR7 implementation of uploading and streams and all that stuff. Okay, so that's all, guys. Unless you guys have any questions, that's gonna be it. All right, we're just gonna call it a day, and hope everybody has a lovely weekend. For my friends in the U.S., hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Emilio, sure, talk to me in Discord. Let's talk about what you need to do. I really want the helper classes. The question is, can I add some methods in helper / ARR, the array? I want those helper classes to be as small as possible. So I don't want them to become like 1 meg file of doing things that you can do exactly the same way with just a PHP function. But yeah, absolutely. Talk to me on Discord and we'll sort it out. Okay. That's it, guys. Thank you so much and have a lovely weekend.